This video is essentially me screaming into the void, knowing that there is a 99% chance that nothing from this video will be brought into consideration by the people I am targeting here to listen to what I have to say. But this has been bottling up in me for the past few days, and I feel like a video is worth to be made to discuss this. What Minecraft presents is a group of two sentient people living in the overworld, outside of the player, of course. The villagers and the illagers. Physically, they're very similar to each other. It's only their skin tone and their eyebrows that are different. The villagers have a brownish skin with a unibrow, a clean unibrow, while the illagers have a gray desaturated skin with bushy separated eyebrows. They also seem to have a vastly different culture, with the villagers insistent on a pacifist culture. However, their iron golem is sort of a symbol of their hypocrisy. They view themselves to be superior morally because they don't fight, they don't even defend themselves. If a zombie bites them, they don't even flick a finger on that thing. But why is it ethically acceptable to them to create a basically sentient machine to commit violence on their behalf? Meanwhile, illagers are presented to all be just ruthlessly violent people. Every single one of them. Every single illager, every single gray skin, bushy eyebrows person in this game, in this world, is evil and will attack any person that isn't like them. When the illagers were first presented in vanilla Minecraft and dungeons, I've heard theories that the reason why their skin is so gray is because they practice dark magic or they have evil thoughts, whatever, and they're pursuing immortality, especially with the totems of undying that you can only get from evokers. And a lot of people also believe that they were the outcasts of the communities of the villagers, exiles, that were banished for practicing this dark magic. So basically rebels. But then, guess what? Minecraft Legends was released. They completely rewrote this theory, or this all of this room to theorize, with an actual backstory to the illagers and the villagers. Minecraft Legends showed that before the Piglins attacked the overworld, the illagers and villagers lived peacefully together, and the illagers did not look identical to the villagers. They had gray skin. They were shown to be different physically from the villagers, but still a part of this society, this community of pacifists. They accidentally turned a story about like banishment or rebellion or people practicing dark magic into just racism. Some illagers decided to begin defending themselves, so now all of the illagers are bad. This could have been a great metaphor for racism and stereotypes, but it does not work. And do you know why? Because illagers aren't humanized. You don't see them living peacefully in some smaller communities. You don't see them, maybe some of them living along with villagers. Because there is no instance of an illager community or settlement in the games outside of the woodland mansions. But the woodland mansions belong to the upper class evokers and their vindicators. Minecraft Dungeons attempted at telling a story about a corrupt leader of the illagers, which could have been actually really good if it didn't suck. Because the story shows that we are supposed to sympathize with Archie, that he was banished from the villager communities, and he turned into being a corrupt leader when he found the Orb of Dominance. As I'm saying, this would have been pretty fucking cool, but the illagers were shown to have been evil before Archie appeared. And in the same way, there are no illagers in the game that are like not a part of this dictatorship. See, for example, the Piglins. These guys, the walking pig people, are more humanized than the gray-skinned humans. In the game, the Piglins have children. There's baby Piglins walking around. They practice hunting by killing hoglins in groups. They have these massive structures, these bastions, whatever. They have customs. If a sentient being is not wearing gold, it is malicious. It is a malicious being. It is maybe being controlled by some malicious forces, or maybe it's possessed, and this gold will repel all of these bad things. Who knows what is the reason they need everyone to be wearing gold? See, they have something to ponder about. They have foundation to theorize, like to further expand by yourself on their culture, more customs. Maybe there's some different tribes and cultures around the Nether, whatever. The Illagers aren't given this nuance. They are not even given a fragment of a foundation to build upon. Villager communities are shown to have a culture of extreme pacifism and isolating everyone who even thinks of picking up a weapon or practicing magic. The villagers have families, they have different houses, different furnishing, they have the golems, they have farms, they have animals, they have an economy. But the Illagers just lack this kind of humanity, this kind of room to sympathize with them, which is just horrible. It really is just horrible to me. It's genuinely good versus evil races. I would like to bring up a different game franchise as an example. Yes, I do want to bring up Elder Scrolls. I'm sorry, y'all. So in the Elder Scrolls universe, there is also a gray-skinned race of sentient people, the Dunmer, or the Dark Elves. However, the gray skin is explained that it is a curse from a god, and also in the same way that the Illagers in dungeons have a corrupt leader, in the homeland of the Dunmer, Morrowind, is shown to have a pretty brutal government. So the Dunmer are like ruled by the living gods, the tribunal, and the great houses. And for like outsiders, the Morrowind looks like terrifying and hostile, especially with the Ashlands and the slavery that the Dunmers practice. However, despite all of this, if you walk into a city populated with Dunmer, or a village, whatever, you will see regular people, just as the corrupt people. Regular people trying to live their lives, good people, working class, people who reject the brutality of the government of Morrowind, families trying to survive the harsh environment of Morrowind. The Dunmer have their own cultures, beliefs, everything. The Illagers don't. The Illagers are like a hive mind of villain. They're monsters. They're grouped in with zombies, skeletons. They're more hated than Enderman. Endermen are neutral. Illagers are hostile. The spiders are neutral. My god. What I'm trying to say here, even though Mojang will most likely not see this video, I just really want the villagers and Illagers to be more nuanced, because throughout the games they've tried to make something to sympathize with the Illagers, but it just did not work. It was flat world building. The easiest way to fix this kind of good and evil racist trope would be to simply I have two solutions to this. Number one, we add Illagers into the villager communities. Just regular gray-skinned Illagers, NPCs that live amongst the villagers in peace, in harmony. They're all one big community. What is the gameplay impact of adding that? Nothing. A raid can still happen, the pillagers will still come and attack the village, and you have to defend it. But now when a pillager shoots an arrow, they might hit a civilian that looks just like them. It can tell a tragic story about this world. This kind of conflict between these two ideologies. One is about the extreme pacifism, the other is about wanting to defend oneself. The other solution would be adding in Illager settlements, because the woodland mansions, they don't count. They're the the houses of the upper class. I'm talking about the mid to the lower class. It could also show some tragedy that these people were people of this race, of this skin color, were exiled, because if a lot of them want to abandon this extreme pacifism and they want to defend themselves, then all of these guys are bad. They are all the same. It's a tragic but realistic aspect of these two people. The Illager communities can be shown as like regular people with families, a culture, a daily routine, hobbies, personalities. It could show them that they're just trying to live their own lives instead of mindless video game enemies. And like these villages with Illagers could have an interesting gameplay impact. It could give the players some kind of moral dilemma. Should I raid this village? Should I leave them be? Should I make friends with them? Should I trade with them? Maybe these Illager villages don't have to be friendly by default. Maybe you have to gain a proper reputation in this village to gain their trust. In the same way that in villages you gain a reputation to have better prices with the with the villagers. Maybe, for example, there could be a bulletin board in the center of the Illager village where there's someone maybe looking for something they lost, or maybe someone is lost and you have to go find that person or that object. Basically like fetch quest, whatever, and finishing this kind of quest could give you a good reputation in this Illager community, and they could trust you, and they could give you maybe some great trade offers, maybe better than the villagers, who knows. And outside of the Illagers being properly humanized, I'd also want the villagers to have some sort of nuance, because I do really dislike this kind of happy-go-lucky, super peaceful people, whatever. They're all good, they all have big hearts, they all have good thoughts only, nothing bad. Because this kind of like extreme pacifism could work as like something nuanced, because they believe that you should not harm any living creature, but you cannot also defend yourself. You cannot, you have to rely on the golems. But what if the golems are overpowered? What then? Do you all just die? Do you wait for someone to save your ass? And while the Illagers could be seen as physically violent, maybe the villagers could be emotionally violent, especially with the exiling thing. Maybe they really, really shame people if they don't like them, if they break traditions, break this extreme pacifist tradition. If you even mention learning how to defend yourselves, maybe the villagers would ignore you during conversations, that kind of thing. Maybe they would stop trading with you, and eventually they'll just throw you out of the community. And we also have the evokers, which could be like these religious zealots. They could exploit this historical trauma of the Illagers like being unliked among the villagers to radicalize these people further, especially if the Illager is living in a harsh community. They either have to work in a mine or in a field, or they join the military for the evokers. There's a lot of room here for exploring some tragic stories among these two different people. This kind of conflict. All of these Illagers are violent, and all of these villagers are lazy and weak. But if Mojang tried, these kind of stereotypes between these two people could be disproven to be true, with Illagers living amongst the villagers, or villagers turning against their own to join the Illagers. I think witches could be like an example of this, actually. But I have no idea if they're linked to the villagers, because they're like, I think they're paler than the villagers. Yeah, I don't know if they're like the same people. If they're like the same group, who knows? Maybe they're also, similarly to Illager, they could be outcasts because of the alchemy they practice, whatever. Minecraft is just trapped at trying to have these deep historical tragedies like the Piglins and the Illagers, but really it just treats an entire group of people, like from their physical appearance, as this like hive mind of evildoers. Let me know what you guys think about this topic. That's all I wanted to say. Bye.